There are many other types of circle of death activities. The whole concept behind the circle of death is that you know and you can see when your turn is going to come, but you have no way of speeding it up or slowing it down. Cognitively, before we start the circle of death, it is important to emphasize that people focus externally as much as possible. Listen to what the other group member is saying, look at the other group member who is speaking, and keep your mind away from internal ants thinking. When your turn comes, it's always a comfort to know ahead of time that you can take a breath, proceed slowly into your answer, and use slow talk to keep you in focus. You will have noticed by this point that your anxiety level is not able to go anywhere near as high if you are staying in the peace zone and talking slowly. Besides the other circle of death activities, the circle of death can also be used as a method or way of running the behavioral group. Let me explain. Each person in the group has a specific, individualized hierarchy they are working on. It is true that everyone's hierarchy includes making introductions, circle of death style, and making conversations, circle of death style, so these are simply behavioral activities that we always do. Other people have specific conversation-making hierarchies, specific public speaking hierarchies, specific self-assertion hierarchies, and specific eye contact hierarchies, to name a few, that can be handled in one of two ways. During some meetings, when we get to the individualized specific hierarchies, we have an open mic session in which people voluntarily say, "It's my turn. I'm working on making a presentation, so I want to tell you something that happened to me last week." The cognitive lesson we reinforce when we are doing these open mic voluntary activities is the anxiety monster, which, as you remember, can be summed up neatly in this manner. If you can do something about your anxiety, do it. Stop the thinking, start the doing. So in these open mic behavioral sessions, we practice on conquering the anxiety monster. Remember, if we start to feel anxiety, the thing to do is act against it. Volunteer. Say, "It's my turn and I want to go now." This not only banishes the anxiety and makes you feel better, it reinforces the fact that you do have control over some situations which presently cause you anxiety. As time goes by, and open mic situations don't cause you as much anxiety, we have people who deliberately wait until the very end so they can practice on controlling and reducing their anxiety as they await the chance to work on their own hierarchy. On other days, we work on our own specific hierarchies using the circle of death method. That is, we may start with Josh and work our way clockwise around the circle to Julie, who is the last person in the circle of death. But instead of doing circle of death activities, each person waits as their turn comes up, and then they work on their own specific hierarchy, which will be different for every person. Switching back and forth between these methods is a good way to practice the cognitive material, because both methods are used in the real world, and we want to become comfortable with them both. Let's talk about the behavioral exercises we do to help us get a handle on anxiety and feel more relaxed, peaceful, and calm in public situations. A common exercise we use is called impromptu questions. These are questions that other group members come up with, or are questions we have pre-written that the person on the spot does not know she is going to be asked. Cognitively, it is important to emphasize here that the questions do not necessarily have any right or wrong answers, that anything you say is typically fine, so long as you make a case for it. And there are always questions asked that no one has the answer to. For example, we have a strange question that keeps appearing from time to time. Here it is. In the very center of the earth, there is a bright and beautiful blue rock. This rock is very special and has properties to it that are essential to all life on earth. If you came across this beautiful blue rock, it would be a good idea not to move it because... Now notice, this is a silly question, and there is no correct answer for it. You can answer it in any way you want, but the idea is to add some legitimacy to it and not just laugh it away and say, forget it. You can come up with an answer out of your imagination that is somewhat interesting at least. That's the whole idea. Take what is given you, move yourself into the peace zone, slow yourself down, and allow your thinking to clear. Take your time, and something will be there, and it will be plenty good enough. There is no right or wrong answer to this question. It is a good impromptu question, the kind of question that can put you on the spot. But notice you are handling being in the spotlight better now. You know what methods and techniques work to reduce the center of attention type anxiety, and you can practice these methods in the behavioral group. Sometimes you'll be given a question which you do not know, nor can you come up with an answer. This happens to all of us in the group as well as in the real world. In those cases, it is best just to say, I don't know. That's a subject I never got around to, or that's a subject I was never interested in. There is no shame in not knowing something. The world is too big a place, and there is a never-ending stream of knowledge to learn. We simply can't know everything. Most subjects are too vast for us to master, so there is no embarrassment and shame in not knowing the answer to a question. Admitting that you don't know something is quite realistic, natural, and normal. I bet you don't like it when someone claims to know something about a subject, yet you can tell they are faking it. Why do we need to fall into this trap? When I was teaching school, and later on college, I was asked questions every day that I did not have an answer to. It would have been foolish of me to fake it, claim that I knew the answer, and then waste the class's time in trying to prove it to them. People appreciate it when you don't pretend or act like you know everything. A statement like, I don't know the answer to that question, or that one's beyond me, is much more pleasing to people than if you try to lie or scare up an answer. Just because you can't answer every question thrown at you does not mean you have a problem. It means you're a normal human being. You do not need to feel foolish or embarrassed. It is very normal and very typical for the average person to not know how to answer questions like this too. No one is judging you or thinking anything negative when you answer something truthfully. And even if they were this irrational, so what? You can't answer a question that you don't know the answer to. So let them look it up in an encyclopedia. You have better things to do with your time, like continuing on with your talk and your question taking. So we need to learn to be content with what we do know. We need to accept ourselves for who we are and continue to be nice to ourselves. So what if we can't answer a complicated question or an obscure question that is out of our range of interest? That's a very normal circumstance and one that everyone faces on a day-to-day basis. It should become easier for us to say, well, I just don't know the answer to that question. It's out of my area. Next question, please. Impromptu or surprise questions can be answered in many different ways. Sometimes the group member only wants serious questions, and sometimes they want a mixture of serious and opinion-type questions. Depending on the person's specific hierarchy, sometimes they choose to answer